Welcome to episode 39 of the Career Breakthrough Series. I'm your host, Paul Ames. And like many of you, I've seen the results of many employers not really valuing their employees and just treating you like a number in your organisation and that you're obviously expendable. Well, my guest today, Danielle Dinse from STARTConsulting, shares with us how you can create amazing teams and create amazing workplaces. So STARTConsulting is a boutique consultancy that provides expertise in people management, change management, and project management. They focus on inclusive and collaborative leadership styles, anticipating challenges, and facilitating solutions across the domains of organisational culture, systems, processes, and capabilities. Danielle really shares some amazing insight into why change management is so important and why organisations and employees should jump on board and learn more about change management. Such a great interview with some amazing insights into how to progress in your career. So let's get started on the interview. Guys, welcome to another episode of the Career Breakthrough Series. I'm your host, Paul Ames. And if you've ever found yourself working at an incredible workplace where everyone seems happy, things just seem to run smoothly, and just generally a really positive work environment, then my guest today is more than likely the solution to what's created that incredible workplace. So my guest today is Danielle Dinse. So Danielle is the co-founder and principal of STARTConsulting. So STARTConsulting basically help businesses and organisations to create incredible change management, project management, and people management. They help adapt and adopt creative and collaborative leadership styles, anticipate challenges, and help to facilitate solutions for businesses. So Danielle, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show. It's an absolute pleasure to speak to you again. If you could just give my audience a bit of a background into basically what your upbringing was like for you growing up and what were some of your biggest influences towards your career?
Thank you very much for the welcome. It is wonderful to be with you, Paul. I love the idea of being able to talk about what adds value out when we do business and
Definitely.
work with businesses together. So we started our change management consultancy because in our experience, we saw that when projects were started and done at organisations, the actual technology or the physical device or the relocation of people or the change in the business model, it was executed, so it was installed, I'd say, but the people themselves weren't really fully brought into the change. And that's what the great thing about change management can do. It ensures that a project gets fully implemented and you get all the great results of that project in the first place. Some of the things that influenced us to go towards this direction of this work that we do now and the great results we get is having worked in organisations where you do a lot of those projects that are groundbreaking. They're amazing and they take you to the next level in your organisation.
Exactly.
So some examples are, having worked with banking or telco organisations, they want to make a change with their technology to really benefit their team and their customers. And you can see it's a no-brainer. Do the change, make the technology change, I would say, and get the great benefits of that technology. However, if the people aren't ready for the event or the change and if they don't fully understand it, and secondly, if their ability to move with the times and understand what this new change means to them, if we haven't worked with people to do that, then it's just not as great as it tends to be. And so we ended up seeing projects be installed and people disconnected and often trying to work around and not actually wanting to be part of the new change itself. That really inspired me and my co-founder to create the consultancy and do change management in a way that really adds value.
Wow, that's brilliant. Thanks so much for sharing that, Danielle. I really appreciate that. And it's something that's so important. Like I've, obviously worked in a lot of different careers in the past, and you see so many organisations not willing to adopt or not willing to adapt with changes or current trends or what's going on to be able to survive and thrive. So what you do is incredible. I think it's brilliant that you are so core focused on people. I myself with my business obviously is pretty much the same with career counselling. I love, that people element. So yeah, if you could just give everyone a bit more of a background and understanding. Obviously a lot of people have heard the term change management, but if you could just break it down a little bit further about, how change management can really impact and affect an organisation.
Yeah, I'm happy to help. Change management in its best essence helps connect people into an event. And what's important about change management, it's not a cookie cutter solution. While there are methodologies to follow in order to create and implement great change management, each client you work with, or each system you work with, or each team you work with will have a very unique need. So change management anticipates and creates that very tailored outcome for those different clients, those different businesses. So that's the essence of great change management. There are fundamental methodologies to be used, like other practices. So for change management, I could share that ProSci out of the States is a very well-known global methodology. There's also Kotter's change directive, which is out of the earlier days, and it's still very core principles. We tend to use either of those. Plus, we also make the most of something called People-Centred Implementation, PCI, and that's a global certification coming out of the UK. And we find that that has the most adaptability for different businesses. I wanted to say as well, when you're thinking about change management, the element of what I was going to phrase it as, the element of what is needed is important. And so you assess what is needed in terms of the particular moment or the particular event or the particular client project. And you can assess specifically around people to help them adapt and build their path in order to start at the beginning, which is the beginning of the event, and finish at the end successfully, happily incorporated and closer involved in the change itself. So Definitely. It's about working with people and helping them adapt, build the necessary skills by doing the change practices, and helping the project be ultimately successful. And so we talk a lot about adaptation. And what that might show itself in, for example, today, is we see a lot more change in the environment, or drivers of change. So in days of, or prior decades, we would have seen maybe technology was a new change, or maybe the economy was a change. We're actually seeing multiple factors influence business now to want to change. Definitely. So competitors want to change the market and be successful. So you have to anticipate, what is your competitor doing and how can I do it better? That comes from anything to a model of doing something, or the way you do your business, to actually tools that you apply to the experience of working with customers, or selling, or moving your product around. There's also changes in technology, which are rapid, and more rapid than ever before. The fact that everybody uses the web so much, and we have so much data available to us, that means customers are actually highly demanding now. When they want to work with you, they're looking for a very high level quality of service, and they're often looking for a rapid delivery of data or information. So whichever business you work in, whether you're an educational, non-for-profit, or a private sector business, you'd want to be anticipating, how can I be the best I can with technology? Otherwise my customers will go to my competitors. And then you've also got the economy, and that's global economy now. We're much more globally affected, whereas in prior decades that wasn't the case. And then finally, people themselves are changing. They are looking for different kinds of careers, different kinds of ways to come into the workforce. So organisations are having to grasp different ways to work with people. All of these things are examples of change that prior might have just been one at a time, and now there are multiple for a business. So the reason we talk about applying change management into a business or an organisation is to help them adapt with a particular event. But wouldn't it be awesome if you created a culture where people inside the organisation felt much more comfortable about change, felt much more adaptable and able to move and change with things as a business grows and defines itself. So change management can be used in a project by project basis, but actually is great to be used to create the right ecosystem. And that's really a super successful strategy for businesses right now. You can save money, you can improve your productivity, you can create better outcomes for your customers if your people in your organisation are more connected to what is happening in the organisation and are better able to adapt as change or unexpected things come along, and they become your workforce where they support you, rather than becoming unproductive or stepping away and not able to really perform and support you. So that's just an element from a really great value of change management for you there.
Definitely, that's great. Wow, that's blown me away. That's brilliant, Danielle. And obviously, because a lot of my audience are people trying to progress in their careers. So on the flip side to that, what do you think would be some important elements or things that they could do to help them further themselves in their career, or better adapt to these ever-changing things in technology, or people or leadership?
Yeah, that's a great question, Paul, to raise. I would consider a really key or a couple of key skills for people growing or transitioning their career or looking to strengthen their career as they go through times of rapid change. Building in resilience in the way they operate their practice. So whether you're an employee or a contractor, or whether you work for a non-for-profit or a private organisation, or even an educational sector organisation, you want to be able to be the kind of person that can adapt and ride and respond and tune in to change. So we call one of the things around that is resilience, being able to develop resilience in your practice. If you're a person that can build resilience into the way you do your practice, you can help other people around you be much more successful when unexpected things happen, or when the volume of things change, or things go the wrong direction maybe unexpectedly. So resilience is a really good skill to work on and to be able to incorporate. And then I think beyond that, it's just around being able to add value when change happens. So being able to adapt and add value when a change happens. And we talk about working with people to develop those skills when we work with them. So I think that change management as a practice can be taught. So, for example, you're a project manager. There's a lot of value for you to strengthen and improve your change management skills and capabilities. A lot of project management methodologies mesh really well with the PCI methodology, for example. And if you work for an organisation, it's extra value, high value for them if you also have the capability to consider the change or the people management side of a project. And I'm not saying project management doesn't do that. It does, but change management takes it into a much deeper dimension. So if you can do that as a project manager, that's great. If you're managing people, another great dimension to your skill set is having change management practitioner capability. That will help you with your staff develop and tweak their skills to be resilient and adapt. And then beyond that, I think if you're if you're thinking about change management, I would suggest a great thing to do that I've done before is ask someone to come and have a conversation with you to add value. So collaborate. You work in an organisation, for example, Paul, and you recognise that a lot of change is happening, or people are scratching their heads. They're not really sure why, or they're not really into the change, or they're running away from it, which is some case. So have somebody come and have a chat with you and collaborate on a conversation about it. So that's a great successful method within an organisation. Senior people and leaders of organisations look for other leaders within the organisation to help give them feedback and suggestions to get to the next stage. So collaborating and talking with somebody who's either a change manager or someone else who can help with the adaptation or resilience skills is a really high value activity I can suggest to people who are thinking, how can I really bring change management in, and what can I do to add value?
Wow, that's perfect. I love the examples you gave as well. And I think that's something you see so often is so many people are just fixed sticking inside their little box. They don't think outside, or, what can I add to my arsenal or skill set to be able to help me change, develop and grow? So I think that was great, that example you gave of the project manager. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So, Danielle, I know we've all got a really positive trait that's really helped us achieve the success we've generated in our lives, but we've also got a really hindering habit or trait that we've got. What do you reckon would be one of your biggest positive traits that's helped you achieve your success, and what would be one of your most hindering?
Oh, one of my most positive traits is, I would say, to pivot. It's sort of like pivoting and never giving up at the same time. So what something doesn't work out? Okay, redefine the problem and try a different thing. So for me, if somebody says, we can't change the firewall because that's the firewall rules at our organisation, so we can't give the client this amazing, faster service that they need, although we can see that it's pretty straightforward if we just did this on the firewall. I would say, well, how else can we look at delivering to our client what we need, or getting our client what we need? So redefining and just pivoting, they call that.
Definitely.
Looking at how you can move around that barrier is probably my most successful career skill. I started out living in Perth and working in the IT sector as a programmer, and I moved progressively towards software testing, project management, process re-engineering and service delivery, then large team people management projects, then into change management as a speciality now. So all through those steps of changing roles, that attribute really is a strong feature of that in all those roles. That kind of pivoting and being able to think outside the box or go, oh, what should we do if that doesn't work? Thinking got me ahead. And it doesn't mean everybody has to be like me as well. I wanted to add, Paul, because that's my strength. And it's interesting to think about what your strength is. And I love that you asked that question. So I'm really happy to share my experience. And I would say to the other listeners, it's really interesting to think about what your strength is, because there are so many different things to grasp onto that make you different and valuable. So
definitely, that's so true. And I've recently had to, well, I guess in the past year and a half, pivoting exactly has been the biggest thing that's really helped me a lot. So, for a while I got really frustrated when business was going quite slow and really up and down. And since pivoting in a bit of a different direction, and things have been more on the up and up and more consistent. So I think when somebody, one of my friends told me in business, she said to me, that's one of the key elements as business owners. We need to pivot every 6 to 12 months and change our direction and not be stale and stagnant where we are. So yeah, I love that you've shared that. That's great.
Fantastic. What a great example.
Yeah. So on the flip side to that, Danielle, what do you think would be one of your most hindering habits or traits?
Okay, I didn't want to answer that, but that's great. So I have
good and bad.
I've had my share of years of feedback and reflection, and I think that the thing where I hold myself back is procrastination, and I want to define that a little bit differently too, because I've learned that I have everything I need within me, and in my younger years, I might say I was more just do it type person, and it's okay, and like I'm not even thinking about what the outcome would be if, for example, if it was to fail, for example. Whereas I'd say towards the more senior end of my career, I started to procrastinate more, and I think that it was holding myself back. I've learned that I've had to almost relearn that failing is good, failing fast is good, because you're learning like a toddler or like a young person. If you fail quickly and you learn what you did, and you can do it again and then become more successful. So that element of procrastination, and in particular, I've just been exploring, so how do you overcome it is what I really should tell you. And a little bit of it's about insight and working with perhaps a mentor or a peer to work with. So
perfect.
If that's what really is happening for you, then talking to somebody who's a mentor or a peer for mentor support could be very, very helpful to talk through the scenarios and for them to support you as you take new steps into perhaps what might be a scary area. But I think the other thing was not being distracted by the shiny objects. My business partner and I talk a lot about this. It's very easy to go do the things that you're comfortable with and that you're awesome at and that you know are going to work really well. And when you start doing things that are a little bit uncertain, you haven't done them before, you're kind of a bit more hesitant to do it. So it's very easy to say, oh, I'll just go do these other things and put off, the tasks that I don't really want to do. So that kind of procrastination, I can see that happening. So being distracted by the shiny objects, it's like easy when you don't want to do something.
Guilty.
I'm trying out the 5-second rule right now, which there's a well-known author who's been talking about it, that it is a natural instinct for us to shy away from things that we don't like to do. And in fact, it's a caveman era protective mechanism for our bodies. But in a thinking time where we live now, in a time where we're thinking and working with computers, we're not in a cave trying to avoid tigers. It actually does. There is nothing to fear essentially of doing it, but we have that mechanism going. So the 5-second rule, which your listeners, and you can research a bit more, talks about before you have time to think, count down from 5 to 1. And when 1 happens, just like a NASA launch, go do it. And so you almost shortcut your mind to procrastination. So it's a technique which you can use when you do feel that is happening. And I just wanted to share that. I could share my trait, but I wanted to share how perhaps I've been tackling it too.
That's perfect. I love that. And I'm definitely going to be taking that on board and can really relate to the shiny object thing. It's taken me a long time, like I'm sure most business owners, where I just said yes to everything. And even hearing in one of my interviews the other day where somebody said, start saying no to things as well. Like where a lot of people say yes to things, sometimes that's going to take you away from your goal or where you want to get to. So I can completely relate to that, the shiny objects.
Oh, very wise words. Good learning. Thank you for sharing that.
That's okay. So I'd love to find out, what are you most excited about in your business? Obviously, things are adapting. You're helping some incredible organizations to create positive change in their workplace. So what are you excited about looking forward into the future, or where you are currently?
Yeah, thank you. I get very excited when we see the results of a proposal completed. So that's one thing. But for the business right now, we're a fairly new business. We're growing our client base, and we're meeting a lot of new businesses and organisations. So what I get excited about is being able to have a conversation with a business or an organisation or an individual, and really understand what it is that they're looking to try and achieve. And we don't sit down and have a conversation about change management. We talk about what is it that is going on and what's really important to you. And I get very excited by those conversations, because they translate into real roadmaps that a person or an organisation can take. I just wanted to say as well, my business partner and I, Kim, we were looking at the agenda for the coming few months, and we're very pleased to say we've been collaborating with Space Cubed. We've launched the Couch Talk Women Entrepreneurs event.
Love it. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so we've had our first one. The next one, 26th of September, has been published, and then the third one for the year will be the 31st of October. But we also have a masterclass for business owners and the C-suite or executives coming up, I say, on October the 4th. That's in partnership with Business Women Australia, an organisation that we feel is very supportive for us as a growing business, and the right place for us to be. And the third thing was that we're actually going to be delivering the public certification for PCI. That's the People-Centred Implementation.
Brilliant.
Global certification, but we're going to lead the West Australia certification class, which is October the 24th, I want to say, and all in Perth. But the moment I wanted to share was I'm most excited that after working together with my business partner and in Perth and with different organisations, we've created such a great momentum. And to look at those three things that are coming up, we're very pleased and certainly excited about it. So really happy about that, and to share that, Paul.
Oh, that's brilliant, Danielle, and you should be so proud of yourself. It's incredible what you're doing, and I love talking to people with passion. And so the first time I spoke to you, I loved hearing your passion, your enthusiasm for what you do. So, yeah, you should be proud of yourself for what you've achieved.
Thank you. That's a really great compliment. Thank you.
So, Danielle, I do have a bit of a random question. I throw it all my guests on my show. Obviously, coming from a solution-focused therapy background, which I incorporate in my career counselling, there's a question called the miracle question. I'm not sure if you've heard it before. So imagine if you went to sleep tonight and overnight a miracle had occurred. When you woke up the next day, anything you ever wanted to impact in the world or any change you ever wanted to make had come true. There are no financial roadblocks and no mental roadblocks holding you back. What would be that biggest impact you'd love to make on the world, and why would it be so important to you?
Oh, I would love to see us achieve tolerance of differences.
Perfect. I love it.
I would love to see tolerance of differences, because obviously being a little bit older now, I can see the benefits of difference, and that's a great thing about working with people, to help people understand that, and especially when change happens, to do that. But there's great questions in the world at the moment that need tolerance and a reduction in violence, and anything around war and the atrocities associated with that, women and children and men. Would be amazing. So how amazing is it we live in an age where we can scan things and have barcodes.
Yeah.
We have gone to now considering that gender is very different from the traditional definitions of male and female, which are old for a long time.
Yeah.
We're in an era of change, and our society is adapting and changing at the same time. There's, the other countries in the world with different wars going on, and the consideration about the stolen generation and land rights, etc. These are all things, gay marriage, etc. These all require people have their opinions, and they have their opinions for a reason. And I would really love it if we could get tolerance and peaceful tolerance and exist in that way where we tolerate each other's opinions but exist peacefully.
Wow, that's an amazing answer, and something new that I haven't heard, but it's so important and so big in the world. I think that's a brilliant response, and it's really going to definitely make a difference if people could be more tolerant of each other and start to understand things from the other person's point of view. I think that's something that a lot of us are guilty of, but obviously with the counselling background as well, that's something that makes such a massive difference in people's lives. So, yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Thanks for the question. It's awesome. I've never heard that one.
It's a great one. I use it in, obviously, you can use it in counselling or career counselling. It basically gets people to visualise things without any blocks in their way, whereas we put in these blocks in our way, mental roadblocks all the time, where, you can't see past them. You can't visualize your life past them. So by doing that, it kind of gets you to picture what your life's like and then work on small goals to actually bypass that roadblock. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're on the way to tolerance now, Paul. I'll check in. This will be a journey for us, I think, ongoing.
Yeah, definitely. I think we need to plan some little steps to make worldwide tolerance. There's a goal. So Danielle, I'd love to also find out, what do you think would be the best book or resource that's really helped you in your life, or whether that be in your career or your business? What would be the best thing that you feel has really made an impact in your life?
There's a couple of foundational books that I still have in my bookcase. The first one's Death by Meetings. Death by Meetings.
Nice, I like the title.
It taught me that just because someone schedules a meeting, you don't have to go. And it taught me how should this whole thing with talking with, how should we be doing this? It was really, really helpful, very illuminating. And the author, which I'll have to share with you later, he gives the information in an allegory, so he tells a story.
Oh,
so it's not like go to a meeting. It's not like an instructional. But there is an instructional element in the back of the book. The same author wrote the book, The 5 Dysfunctions of Highly Performing Teams, and I read that about 6 months ago, and I was blown away. I didn't know it was the same author. I was blown away because I read the first book in the 90s.
Yep.
I read the most recent book a few months ago, as I said.
Oh, wow.
And it talked about a fundamental set of things need to be in place in a certain order for a team to be really awesome together. It is really amazing, whether you're a sporting team or whether you're an executive team or whether you've just got a volunteer or a new team coming together. It's really, really good. I'll share that with you.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
The one that I'm reading at the moment that it really snapped with me is the author. The author is the founder of LinkedIn, and he was talking about the idea that entrepreneurial mindset is something that we've lost and that we used to have it. And as the Industrial Revolution, world wars, and different innovations in technology and organizations and globalization happen, we all started working in a certain way, which was I go to a job, I work there my life. Or even if I don't work there my life, I'm 9 to 5, I work in an organization.
Yep.
And this concept of entrepreneurial mindset of having your own business or having a mindset where you shift and change and you're not indoctrinated into a culture in one way has been lost. And I really liked that because
that's interesting.
It talks about adaptation ultimately for you. I mean, we need to adapt and change. We do already. We do it with fashion. We do it with our changing likes and dislikes in particular genres of things we do. But in the workforce, it doesn't seem like we were aware that we should be thinking that way. So even if you continue to work in an organisation as an employee, that's fantastic. The idea is that organisations have stopped people from being free thinkers and being more agile and being able to adapt and take risks and do things and fail but learn from them. And that's something, while organisations are starting to embrace innovation, innovation's the future, we should be doing it. You can't just say to an organisation, go do innovation. It's about the people in the organisation coming to terms and being able to be part of that. So innovation, it's really an entrepreneurial mindset is an innovative mindset. It's an adaptive, agile mindset that is thinking differently to perhaps how we've been trained to work, and that's okay. I was really inspired by that because I think it helps us to be better, happier, and more amazing. Just ultimately connecting with what we love to do.
Wow, I've loved that. I absolutely love what you've just shared as well. And I mean, to hear that from the founder of LinkedIn as well, obviously, got their fingers on the pulse, knows what's going on. And it's such a massive thing that's going to impact the world. So I appreciate you sharing that. What a great book. I'll definitely be linking that one in the show notes for everybody.
Yeah, I'll share those authors with you separately.
Perfect. So Danielle, I'd love to find out a little bit more about your business and what are some of the incredible results you've generated for some of your clients?
Yes, I was blown away. I've worked with some amazing people in my life and in my consultancy now, I'm working with different organisations, and I'm blown away that they let us work with them and to see them and the results we get are just stupendous.
Definitely.
So we're working with one organisation is a non-for-profit, a very amazing, accomplished group of people. It's a non-for-profit, so there's a high level of volunteers in the organisation and a very low level of staff.
Yep.
And there's a really large group of members. The members tend to be probably more senior because they are really into this area of history. And in working with this organisation, the senior people in the organisation, they have a huge amount of accomplishments behind them. And we came in to help them go through a project where they were making some change. And people are very connected to what they do in the volunteer organisation. They like to do what they do.
Exactly.
Changing, it's not very comfortable. It creates a different kind of result, and it could be quite uncomfortable, and it could be off-putting for members, volunteers, and create disruption. So we've been working with them to help create the right roadmap in order to make these interim changes that they're starting. I was really blown away that they let me work with them and coach them and implement some different ways of doing their project.
Yep.
And it created some awesome results in terms of the two-way communication. And secondly, it opened up new opportunities and resources for this non-for-profit to use as part of this project that they were doing. And as a result of that, the resources just helped reduce the cost of the project. And it was a much more connected project because people from within the organisation felt like they were donating, contributing, and being part of it. That really was very exciting for me to work with an organisation and try something new when they're probably used to a different way of working.
Exactly.
I have a great story to share that we're working with a resources startup company.
Wow.
So, yeah, we've worked with a company that just had a board and a COO, and we were talking about the concept of their organisation with them, and they knew in order to grow that they needed to maximise the way they connected with their people, their processes, and the tasks they were doing in order to be successful. Because when you're an organisation, you want to be thrifty, but you also want to be smart in the way that you put your solutions in place.
Yeah.
The reason this mining startup company is so amazing as well is they're creating a whole lot of innovation from start to finish, from the way they work with their people, their tools, their processes, and the way they bring things into the organisation. So we were actually able to work with them in terms of change management to create the vision, the mission, the direction, the roadmap, and then we were able to work with them in terms of formulating and structuring the procedures and practices needed to grow the company to the stage where they're about to launch, and moved into a more of a project management phase for them where they're now ready to launch, etc.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's interesting to give you a non-for-profit, more of a resources sector organisation that's quite innovative. And then thirdly, a government organisation we're working with. It's been wonderful to work with an organisation that's extremely large, has a lot of long tenure employees, and is going through quite a significant change because of government legislation changes. And as a result, operating models and the way people do their jobs and what they're being asked to do is changing significantly.
Yeah, sure.
So we've had to work, we have worked really well with them to actually make sure that we're putting in place the right support procedures for their people so that they actually get excellent value as the organisation goes through change, and the organisation continues to deliver what it needs to, even though that change is happening for them internal. It's exciting to see that happen. Everybody is pulling together because they're supported in the right kind of way. So those are some great examples to share with you.
It's so true. It's funny, before you mentioned that, I was actually going to say I love that you've shared the different elements, obviously, between a not-for-profit startup and for a well-established organisation, and the different challenges that come with each of them. Obviously, I absolutely love that you mentioned the not-for-profit. Obviously, a lot of people don't think that they have a differing set of processes, procedures, their staff think differently, their mindsets differently. So that's great, and I think that's so important to be able to share that and be able to tailor your approach to each organisation.
Yeah.
But Danielle, I really appreciate your time in coming forward and being interviewed. It's incredible to share your knowledge. You've got such a wealth of knowledge, and something so different to share on the show, which is so crucial in the world moving forward. So thank you again for your time. It's been an absolute honour talking to you.
You are very welcome. I look forward to listening in more as well, Paul. Thank you.
And Danielle, where would be the best place? Say if anyone wanted to reach out to you, if there was an organisation or a startup or not-for-profit wanting to get on board, where would be the best place to get in touch?
Yeah, thanks. Our primary website is www.startconsulting.com.au, and you can find me on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you and understanding a bit more about change management. And to anyone who's an employee out there, you should really have a good listen back to what Danielle shared. It's really going to help you progress in your career. So, guys, stay tuned next week where I'm going to share another incredible episode with somebody who's going to help you break through that glass ceiling in your career. So stay tuned then.